All right, now we are recording. Woo! So today, guys, I got Miss Nia on the line, and we are going to be talking about money. What are we going to be talking about, Nia?
Overcoming your money mistakes. I feel like this is something I've even had clients that have come to me and they'll fill out their paperwork and do all their homework, but they will push back that time to actually go and look at their money because of the shame. And
Yeah.
they're ashamed of the mistakes they made. And I feel like it's something we should talk about because it's a crucial step that a lot of people not forget, but forego
Mm-hmm.
improving their finances because they're like, oh, I'm ashamed. Like I should be here, and I know I shouldn't have did that. And it's like, well, how?
Yep.
Because I don't
Exactly.
know about you, but I didn't get much personal finance knowledge.
No, I don't think many of us did. And I had this conversation just this past weekend with some ladies. And that was one of the things that I was sharing was that many of us, we were not having conversations around the dinner table talking about money. We were not talking about money market accounts. We were not having conversations about, how do you take student loans responsibly? How do you get that, how do you manage that first credit card? We were not having these conversations, and so if you have mishaps, with credit cards or with debt, you can't blame yourself, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and it's not to say that you don't take responsibility for your actions, but I do think we have to be kind to ourselves on our financial journey because we do the best that we have with the resources that we have available to us at that time, you know?
So I think that first okay, like yes, you
Mhm.
made mistakes, you had hiccups. So it is important to own those mistakes,
Right.
but you have to make sure those mistakes don't own you.
Ooh, there you
So
go, right
if
there.
you, and I tell my students, clients, whenever I'm speaking and people bring this up, and I tell them, tell me one person who didn't make
Mm,
a money mistake. Tell
yes.
me one,
Mm-hmm.
just one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to bring up 5 or 10. Give me one,
Right. Exactly.
and you can't think of one because they don't exist.
Exactly.
Everybody makes money mistakes. Would you
Yep.
want somebody helping you that's never made any mistakes, so they don't know where you're coming from? They don't
Mm-hmm.
know how you feel.
Right.
How do you classify them as an expert?
Exactly. Exactly. They don't even understand your journey. They can't relate to it. So I do feel like it is important for us to have those conversations and be honest, and be vulnerable, because then people will begin to see that we're all human. We're
Yes.
all human beings and we're going to make mistakes, and it's a part of the journey.
It is.
you
Your
know
mistakes are what make you a master of your finances. Practice
Yes.
doesn't make perfect
Yep.
because there's no such thing. There's no such thing as perfect.
Exactly.
So, and that's not what we're striving for.
Right.
We're striving for progress. We're
Hmm.
striving to be better than we were yesterday, better than we were a year ago. So,
Exactly.
having mistakes, that's just a part of your journey, and just keep writing it.
Right.
Your journey is not over.
Right.
So I think that
Exactly.
that's just important factors that we don't think about. And I think we just get hung up on the fact that we've made mistakes. And I don't want us to do that no more. Another thing that I think is really important, like, okay, we've owned our mistakes, we figured out what we're going to do. Now we have to get past that shame.
Hmm.
Now we have to move past the feelings that we have about it. And we might say, oh, I feel like I shouldn't be here, or I'm supposed to have this, or I told myself I was going to do this. But I think we should look a little deeper into what feeling is that creating?
Hmm.
What feeling is that creating that we're really running away from?
Right.
And a lot of times when you get to that, it might just be regret.
Hmm.
It might be regret for the things that might have happened in the past. But a lot of times we have to realize that these things and these money habits, they might be related to our childhood. It might be related to so many different things. As
Exactly.
we go in and dig deeper and figure out, we go through the motions and figure out what those things are, we have to let that regret go.
Right. Right.
We got to let that shame go and move on to the growth portion of our journey. Because the
Right.
only reason you're looking back, it's not to point blame. It's to just figure out where you are. It's not, you're not looking for somebody to point a finger at. You're just literally looking to see where you are so you can see what you're going to do about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always tell people, be kind. Be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Just love on you. You know what I mean? Because we're all human beings at the end of the day. And this is a journey, and everybody's journey is going to be different. Sometimes we're looking at what other people are doing and we're saying, oh, I want to do that. I should be doing what they're doing, especially on social media. Come on. We look at social media, and this is a conversation I was having with the ladies this past weekend is that, we have to stop comparing ourselves with what's on social media because half the stuff is not real
Oh
anyway.
my gosh. And another thing that I tell people all the time, because a lot of times people are ashamed of how much debt they have accumulated.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
this is what I tell them. Tell me one time in recent days you've gone 5 minutes without being sold,
Ooh, yes.
5 minutes without seeing an ad, either walking down the street
Mm-hmm.
or rather driving down the street, scrolling on social media.
Right.
They have ads everywhere now.
Everywhere,
Oh
girl.
my
It's
gosh, it was in
crazy.
my Facebook notifications.
Yep.
Like it literally is getting to the point where it irritates me so bad, it's making me just want to go black from social media because I
Mm-hmm.
am so tired of seeing it's like I don't want to see that. I'm not interested in purchasing that. Just because I mentioned water balloons does not mean I want to buy some right now.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
oh my God.
You're to that. Do you know that I read it was a statistic and it said that we are inundated with 10,000 marketing messages every single day.
I
That is
believe
a
that.
lot. That is so
And that's the thing.
much
So for you not that, I mean, just looking at that realistically, if you're 10,000 marketing messages a
a
day,
day.
okay, you have to be the strongest person to avoid and dodge and you you gotta
Right.
be you gotta be the matrix. Like like
Right.
how are you
Exactly.
supposed to dodge them each and every day? I am a personal finance creator. I get influenced and by
Right.
things that I see on TikTok.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you see things that's legit, like, oh my God, where has this been? I really did need this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, with that being said, every moment of your life, things are thrown at you for you to purchase.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. And I mean, we have to remember we live in a country that is so consumption driven,
Whew.
that it's hard not to have that desire to spend. And that's just a part of human nature. We're wired that way. We're wired for immediate gratification, you
I
know?
think we've been conditioned
Ooh,
for
that too.
immediate gratification.
That
I think
that
we've been
too.
programmed
Yep.
to be spenders. I want to do this at one of my workshops
Mhm.
and drive home this concept because a lot of times I make the point that if I had a thought
Mhm.
at the beginning of a workshop that I
Mhm.
wanted a burger, that burger could be here before I get off the stage.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And one day I'm going to do that. I'm
Mhm.
going to think about it and I'm going to order it before I start talking. And I'm
Mhm.
going to tell whoever, wherever I'm at, please let them in to the stage to deliver my meal because this is the society we live in. I can think about something and it be at my doorstep
Yep.
within an hour.
Yep.
And
Smarter
some of
living
us, as
society.
correct. And so, as some of the younger generation, this is how their entire life has been.
Right.
So, we find ourselves, I was doing a training for some like college, well, they weren't professors, but college faculty,
Okay.
and basically teaching them about dealing with these, helping them with money and realizing why they make some of the financial decisions that they do. And
Right.
that's one of the reasons they have been accustomed all their life being able to run their entire life by cell phone.
Yep.
And when they click a button, things happen. So
Right.
it's like you telling me now I have to work for years. We live, like you said, we live in a microwave society. And what I told them was this: microwave societies create microwave mindsets.
Woo! I love
So
that. Yes.
it, and you're going to get frustrated with it, but you have to understand where they're coming from.
That's right.
This is what they've known all their life.
Right. That is
So
their
you
perspective. How about
Correct. That is their perspective. Shameless plug, but
That's their perspective.
and it took me even a while to, wrap my head around that. But as I get deeper in this, this, I guess you could say, profession,
Mm-hmm.
you learn so much more and you dig deeper and you educate yourself. And so you have to come from that angle. And
Exactly.
then you'll see a little bit of why it's a struggle.
Exactly. So that's coming from an angle of seeing the world through their lens, you know?
Correct.
That's
Exactly. And then
that's
you
what makes
understand this is why you spend so much. That's a part of your
Mhm.
normal life.
Yep.
They market to us like we have endless money. They
Right.
market to us like there are no low income neighborhoods. They
Mhm.
market to us like there are no inflation raising at a three times the rate of wages.
Come on. Yep.
That
Exactly.
they market to us like we're all billionaires.
Right. Exactly. And we all know that's not the case. We know that we're all operating, with limited resources. Everybody is.
Exactly.
Even the
Exactly.
government, even though they don't act like it.
Wait till the last week of this month. They gonna act like it then. We in September, the end of their fiscal year. This is 1 month the government will act like they don't have any money because they might shut down. We'll see, to be
Oh, they're
determined.
talking about that again.
Every year,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because
every single, and that's the thing, and that's just another reason why you can't be upset at yourself. You can't be mad at yourself. Even the government is
right.
having financial issues.
Exactly, exactly. That it's so true. And they have the ability to tax even more to get whatever revenue they need. So,
And that has not been working out for them. And we don't even have the ability to tax.
no,
We only stuck with the money that we make. So
right.
that's why we have to create a plan and figure out ways for our money to work with us, figure out ways to use and leverage the money that we have, which is going to take us creating a game plan so
Yep.
that we can recover from those mistakes.
Yeah. And I think that right there is the key and the segue into the next topic. And that is making sure you have a plan. I think a lot of times people don't create plans, for their money. They just, it hits the bank account and then they just start spending.
And some people don't know how. And I
Mhm.
usually like, one of the things I think is important to know is that with any skill that you learn, like when you learned how to drive, did you just get in the car and just drive off and now you're on the expressway and you're big and bad and now you're about to take a road trip to Tennessee?
Right.
No, it
Absolutely.
took multiple tries. It took driving in the parking lot. It
That's
took
right.
almost killing your passenger
Maybe
seat.
maybe even an accident or two.
That's what I'm saying. It took almost killing your driver instructor, whoever that was, your mother, uncle. It took all of that so you can be able to drive successfully
That's
on the
right.
road. Minding your money is not going to be any different. It's a new
Exactly.
skill and it's going to take you finding which way works for you. Where do you want to hold your hands? Maybe 10 and 2 don't work for you, but it
Right.
takes you actually doing to
Hmm.
learn that. It's called on the job training, essentially.
Ooh, yes, yes. I call my money journey trial by fire.
Ooh, I like that. It is though. It is. It definitely is.
Yes,
So,
trial by
and see,
fire.
a lot of people don't know how to make a plan and maybe they've never been experienced it and things
Right.
like that. But it's very important to start off with where you want to be. Keep the end in mind. So
Yes.
keep the end in mind, keep the ending goal.
Hmm.
Where exactly do you want to end up? And then you start small. What can I do today?
Yes.
What can I do this week?
Hmm.
Create micro goals because if you start small, you can build the new habits as you go. And
Yes.
as long as you're consistently making progress in the direction of that goal, because remember, you're keeping the end in mind, you will reach it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that what you just mentioned there is really important is to start small. I think
Yes,
one of the issues in our industry is that it feels so overwhelming. It's so
it
much
does.
information. It's so many terms that you've never heard of before. People are afraid of making mistakes, so they get this what do you call that, paralysis by analysis
Analysis
by.
paralysis.
Exactly. And so they're just like, look, I am not doing anything because I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake, right? But there's certain
Yep,
things you can do, and you could just start, like you said, start small, right? You can
exactly.
take $1 or two and just put it into a savings account, you know? Take $5, put it into a savings account, wherever you are. Everybody is, at a different place in their income levels and in their financial journeys, but you can do small things. You may not be ready to take that big step into investing, but you can do the small things,
I completely agree.
you know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I think it's important to note, like, a lot of these things we didn't learn in school. So for
Right.
myself, a lot of people know I'm on a fitness journey. And
Mhm.
so I'm in the process of learning what I should eat,
Mhm.
learning what my body likes, what type of
Yes.
nutrients should I be having in my body every day, what
Mhm.
type of exercise will my body react to. Now,
Mhm.
granted, we did have physical education in school, but we
Mhm.
didn't have classes that really taught us this part. They just taught us the food pyramid, told us to smile and be happy and get out of my face.
Right.
They didn't break down for us like, okay, you need this much fiber, you need this much protein. This is what protein does in your body. This is why you want to work the muscle. This is the reaction.
Right.
This is what diabetes does to your body.
Mhm.
And so you know better how to combat it because you know what's happening. These
Mhm.
are all things that now I'm learning so I don't get diabetes and I don't get these things. And it at first felt overwhelming to me.
Mhm.
But
Right.
it's really just because these, like you said, it's all new terms and it's a lot of information coming in at the same time. So what
Mhm.
I did is I broke it down. I digested one. I worked on fitness. Once
Mhm.
I got to the point where I can have a regular fitness regimen, I can go regularly. Okay, I got that down. That's a part of my lifestyle, which it took some time. Okay,
Mhm.
now let's get into this food. Let's get to this table. Let's see what's going
Right.
on with this table. And
Mhm.
even then, okay, let's just focus on getting more vegetables every day.
Right. Right.
Let's just leave it at that. We don't got to
Mhm.
take on everything today. Okay, now we know how to put vegetables in every meal. How are we gonna get that protein we need?
Mhm.
You breaking it down into digestible portions, but it all is going towards the same goal. The
Right.
long haul is I eat better overall than I ate 5 years ago, 10
Exactly.
years ago. So I'm still reaching my goal, but it's at my pace and it's based on my lifestyle and what
Right.
I will thrive in. So it's
Right.
just making smart goals. I made my health journey digestible and I break down piece by piece and I just can add it and incorporate it into my life as opposed to trying to take it all on at once. And now I'm overwhelmed. And then I'm just going to go to the grocery store and go splurge and then
Right.
come sit home, eat it, and then be remorseful, being mad at myself because I knew I wasn't supposed to eat all that stuff.
Right, right, right. Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I think again, the key is just starting small, you know what I mean? And then just understanding that it's a journey, and it's one that if we just do a little bit, every day, then we can become consistent and we can build a
Yes.
new habit, So I
Yes.
think I think that's what's really important. Okay. So what other mistakes
Agreed.
are we out here making?
I would say one thing too is knowing that consistency doesn't mean that you have to do it every day, 24/7, three sixty
Mhm.
five.
Mhm.
Consistency does not mean you don't make mistakes anymore.
Right.
Consistency doesn't mean that you don't fall off at times anymore. You're still going to fall off. You're still going to have hiccups. You're still going to have good days and bad days because life is always going to be lifing.
Absolutely.
But
That's a good
consistency
point.
just means more times than not. Consistency means that yes, you fell off today, but you're still back on it because this is for you. This is an investment in yourself.
Mhm.
So yeah, I may have splurged too much. I spent too much this check, but I'm going to maybe I'll go do a side hustle or something. Maybe next time I get paid, I'll reposition some funds, but I'm
Mhm.
going to get back to the prize. I'm going to get back to it.
Right, exactly, exactly. And that's really important again is to understand that it's not going to be a perfect journey, right?
Correct.
But you can get it 75% right and
Exactly.
still achieve
Still
financial
consistent.
success. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
still build wealth, And as far as I know, 75% is still passing, right?
It's better than zero. I take 75% over zero any and every day
Any
of the
day.
week, baby. I'll take it over 50%. I'll take it over 40% any day.
Any day, right? So you can still build wealth. You can still have financial success with your money, but the key is just don't give up. That's what's important,
Exactly. And
So
because when you're giving up on you. This
yeah,
is for you.
and
This
your
is for your
family,
goals
and your family.
and your family, especially if you have children. I
Yes.
mean, nieces, nephews, even though your play nieces, play nephews,
Mhm.
godchildren,
Mhm.
as you learn this information, you have the power and the ability to change the trajectory of your entire family.
Absolutely, absolutely. And all it takes is one
Yes.
person who has a different mindset, who changes their mindset around money, can make a just a huge difference and huge change in the family and in that generational wealth.
Agreed.
Yep. So let me think. What else is something else that I wish people would understand? You know what I would say?
What?
Investing. Investing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say investing early. A lot of people are nervous about investing, and rightfully so, because if you did not grow up having conversations around investing, then like anything else, you're going to be nervous when it comes to, actually putting your money into the stock market, especially, if you see the stock market take a dive and it drops off, 20%, 30%, then it makes sense. Money is emotional. And if you're looking at your money going down, you're definitely going to feel it, you know? But I think it's important to educate ourselves around the stock market as well, or whatever investment you're doing that you're going into, you want to do your homework.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you are doing your due diligence, that you understand it, before you put your money into it. Because if you look at the stock market, you'll see the stock market kind of goes like this. So it is going to go, up and down, but over time it's gone up, you know?
Yes.
And so that's all of that is a part of that education process, understanding that there are going to be ebbs and flows along the way.
Agreed. And I think that's something else where people think that they need to have a lot of money to start. And
Right.
that's the same, it's the same principle. Start small. You can start with $10 a paycheck, $25 a paycheck. And as you get raises or promotions or you change jobs, you negotiate your salary,
Mm-hmm.
you increase it.
Right.
And as you continue to do that, it's the consistency. Time is your best friend.
Ooh, it really is.
Time is your best friend. And the earlier, the better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It can make a big difference, especially if you take advantage of compound interest, because yeah, the key there is the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a workshop. So I had a workshop here on September 7th, and it was a young lady in there. And that's exactly what you said. She
Mm-hmm.
said she always like heard about investing, but
Mm.
she was very skeptical and she was very fearful. And she was like, she never actually got into it. She has her retirement account, but she was like, she doesn't, she just, they take the money out of her check, but she doesn't go and do anything or look at it. So we went over it. We went over it. We drew diagrams. We had pictures of my horrible drawing skills. Uh, she walked away. Now she has an idea of what a stock is, what a mutual fund is. And that alone just empowered her to be like, oh, okay, maybe I will go and actually start looking at it now. So, with
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm saying start to educate yourself
That's right.
and learn and get more confident about it. Find you somebody you trust.
Mm-hmm.
Follow this channel.
Right.
Learn
Both of
information.
us. Right. Exactly.
Yes, ask the
Mm-hmm.
questions that you have in the comments, and then
Mm-hmm.
that gives her more videos that she can make. Like honestly, you helping her
Mm-hmm.
because if you put the question, they give like, oh, bam,
Right.
oh, I didn't
Exactly.
know they needed to know that. Let me go make a video about that, and
That's
so everybody wins.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with that. And one of the things that I want to touch on, just kind of expand on a little bit, is what you said about, find a partner, find people who are like minded, who are thinking like you about investing, about saving, and then come together and start having these conversations. And that's how you educate yourself about, the market and what's going on, because everybody's going to bring some knowledge to the table.
So for me, I think that a big factor that we don't spend or put time into is
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients, and you could tell me if you've had clients who do this too,
Mm-hmm.
that when they get paid,
Mm-hmm.
they put extra money on their credit cards,
Mm.
but they never checked with their paycheck to see if they
Mm.
had extra money to put on their credit cards. But
Yes.
they do it because it makes them feel good.
Yes.
It makes them feel good to say, oh, well, I put more than the minimum. I put more than the minimum.
Yes.
However,
Yep.
the money that they put in their savings, they're having to transfer right back into their account because they couldn't afford to put the
Yep.
money that they put on the credit cards.
Yep. That's a
So
great
I
point.
I think that's a mistake because you have to figure out what you have before you start dishing and
Mm-hmm.
dishing it out because you're dishing out more than you're supposed to, and now you're creating. the
Mm-hmm.
deficit for yourself. You're creating the problem just by not knowing what you have. Like,
Yep.
we are not in the being a professional juggler, robbing Peter to pay Paul, whatever way you want to describe it. We're trying to get out of that. We don't want that for us. That we don't
Exactly.
want that for us anymore. We
Right.
want to get to a point where we're getting a little bit better and comfortable.
Exactly. And I think that that is a part of the plan. That's why it's so important to have a plan, because you can create your debt reduction plan so that you know every single month exactly how much money you're supposed to be putting towards that debt. If you get a little extra, especially if you're like a business owner or something, if you get a little extra, have a plan for the extra. You know what I mean? And maybe what that looks like is you put a portion of it into a savings account, a money market or something, and then you take another portion and you put that towards getting out of debt, you know? But you are absolutely right. I think that's a great point, and maybe something a lot of people don't think about. They do. They get the money and they're like, oh, I got a little bit extra, I'm gonna take this and pay off this debt. But it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, and
And we
let's
did
have
it.
a
I
plan.
have a client that did it recently. And when we sat down and figured out her budget,
Mm-hmm.
she had like $100 left.
Mm-hmm.
But she has sent like $300 to her credit cards extra.
Oh,
I'm like, you don't have the money to do that. So let's take that money back
right, right,
because
right, right.
we're creating her budget. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we're not going to put that much money on there.
Right.
We're going to do this. And she's like, oh, okay, I see. I see. You're creating the deficit because what she would do is every time she would feel like, oh, where my money go? My money gone because
Right.
you're sending it away before you even made sure you had enough to pay your bills.
Exactly, exactly. And I think too, we're working hard, and yes, you want to have a plan to get out of debt, right? I do think it's important to keep some balance in your life. You know what I mean? So that you can enjoy a little bit today, save
I
for
have a
some
whole chapter in my book about that.
yes, and then make sure that you do have a plan for getting out of debt too. It's about
And that
balance.
is very true. I have a chapter in my book called Life is Short, Get the Uber Eats.
Okay.
And what the premise is behind that chapter is deprivation diets don't work. Depriving yourself of entertainment or and what I typically say or like find what's something that you like love or your vice or something that you love to like and you're decompressing for the day. Some people have a certain thing they like to do while they decompress. Some people
Right.
like to order Uber Eats.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said it because I had a client before. She loved her Uber Eats girl,
Okay.
and that was her decompression moment. And she worked a very stressful job. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why I said
Mm-hmm.
find something,
Right.
put it in your budget because that way you don't feel deprived. You don't feel like I'm going to work, working all these hours, dealing with these people, getting out this
Mm-hmm.
bed, losing out on sleep, and I'm not even getting a chance to spend any of my money on me.
Right.
You
Yes,
can't sustain that way.
I
You're
agree.
never going to be able to stick to that in the long term. So
Mm-hmm.
build something, just like Renee said, build something in there that's for you, even if it takes you to the limit, because it might take you to the limit, but that's going to keep you on your journey for a much longer time.
Yep.
Because if you deprive yourself and you go without it, you might do good for a little while. At
Mm-hmm.
some point, you're going to break and then you're going to go splurge and that whole budget going to go to hell.
Yeah. I was just about to say there's gonna be a breaking point.
It's going to be a
Yep.
breaking
Yep.
point.
When you least expect it. So I do think that's important. And that's funny because, the presentation that I did was about it said drink the latte,
Oh,
because
that's it.
you know what I mean? Because it is about balance, and everybody is so
Yeah.
against don't drink coffee. If you take
Right. We're trying to
coffee,
live. We
right.
still have to live.
Exactly, and I just so happen to like lattes. So I'm like, I'm drinking my coffee. I
I'm
don't
not a
care.
coffee drinker. I'm a food person.
Yeah,
For me, it's a flight.
see,
Like, let's
exactly.
be
We
honest.
all
For
have
me,
our
it's a
thing.
flight.
Yep, exactly. So for us, we all have our thing. And so
Mhm.
yeah, I do like to have my lattes. And it's not the cheapest thing, for sure, but I do add a line item in my budget so that I can enjoy. You work
Exactly.
hard, and we always saying, oh, I deserve this. Well, I feel like I deserve it, but I want to make sure that I'm taking care of the Renee today and I'm taking care of the 65-year-old Renee tomorrow.
Well, correct. You deserve your latte and your emergency fund.
Come on.
You don't have to
Yes.
choose. You deserve your latte and your brokerage account.
There-
Right. You deserve them boots, but you deserve that retirement too.
That's right. That's exactly right. So it's again, it's about balance, right? So we want to make sure that we have balance. I think that's a good point. And I think the other thing that I would say is, since we're talking about the 65-year-old Renee, is not delaying retirement.
Oh,
So basically not delaying putting money away for retirement. And this, I think, is probably challenging for a lot of people, especially now, because everything is so expensive. You
and
know?
we have a lot of gig workers. We have a
Mhm.
lot of gig workers who are
Yes.
not so people, get on and talk about 9 to 5s and
Mhm.
this 9 to 5s and say what they have to say. But one thing about it is it does make it easier for you to put away for retirement.
Mhm.
Because if you're a gig worker, you don't have a retirement that's already set up for you. And all you have to do is just click a button and say, oh, okay, I'll participate.
Mhm.
And some of them you're automatically participating because that's the way it's structured. When
Mm.
you are working for a gig economy, you have to go and be intentional and create your own plan and set up your own deductions. And
Right.
sometimes that takes a little bit more intentionality and purpose. And when you don't know anything about this process and you don't know anything about the different types of accounts, it
Right.
can cause you to freeze
Right. Exactly.
and then you don't do anything.
Yeah, and that's really important. And I think it's important that gig workers or business owners, or even people who are working a job but don't have access to an employer retirement plan, that I want them to know that they do have options. So there
They
are
do.
options outside of a company's 401k or 403b or 457b plan. You have a traditional IRA, and you have two versions of that, the Roth and the traditional, and then you also have just a slew of retirement accounts outside of the traditional IRA, or the IRA period. So I do think it's important that people just understand that they have options available to them. So don't just do nothing. So you have some options. Just reach out and get some help so that you can figure out what works best for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we covered a lot today.
I
We
think
don't
so
want to
too.
put too much on you at one time, but I feel like it was just a conversation that needed to be had. I
Yeah.
see it all the time in my work, at my just workshops I'm performing. People open up and talk about the shame and
Yes.
all the time, and
Yep.
it's so common
It is
that I think
common.
it's also important for people to know that they're not on the island.
Yep.
And because when I was going through it in my financial journey, I thought I was on an island and I didn't reach out
Absolutely.
for anybody for help. I suffered in silence because I thought I would be a burden on other people. Lo and behold, I had a whole village of people going through it too.
Yep, exactly, absolutely. And I do think that's really important to understand, is that you're not in this alone. I don't care where you go, what conversation we have, what room we're in, there's someone, who has gone through something similar to what you have gone through. So you're definitely not doing this journey by yourself. And that's what's important to understand. And don't feel shame reaching out to someone else. You don't have to do it all by yourself. You don't you
Okay,
know
agreed.
so call a professional. There are a lot of people that are willing and able to help. So I do think we covered a lot. So Nia, what I'd like to do is have you to tell us a little bit more about your company and how can people find you, because you are doing things on social media.
So I am Nia Adams, the Money Moves Motivator, and I specialize in helping high achieving women overcome their money mistakes, which should be no surprise at this point of the video, and transform their spending habits so that they can achieve wealth. I feel like this is what I was meant to do. I love doing it. I love helping us make breakthroughs and understand that what we're going through is normal and that wealth is also normal for us. You can find me on social media at Money Perspectives, and that's on every social media platform. Just make sure you put the at symbol in front of Money Perspectives. My website would be www.perspectiveschange.com. And feel free to contact me if you have questions or things like that. I also have a YouTube channel, so you can use that on YouTube and find me. Definitely like and subscribe while you're there. Same
Mhm.
concept. If you have things that you want to know about, drop it in one of the comments on my videos. I'll be happy to make a video about it, just and cover it. It really helps me find content to make and make sure that my channel is giving what it's supposed to give. I have one book, Budgets, Mindsets, and Money Moves. This book is built to help women build confidence in their financial moves. It talks about how personal finance wasn't seen as a good job skill, so they didn't teach it in the schools, and because the schools were set to prepare us for work.
Yep.
It talks about the difference in how many women invest and women don't. It talks about all of that. It talks about how our self-esteem plays a role in how we use money, and it gives you actionable steps in each chapter on how to work on it. And then the other book is Life is Short, Buy the House. It's the ultimate guide to preparing for home ownership. This book will be receiving an update because we have two new laws that came out in 2024 as it relates to the home buyer process. So I will be making a revised version. There's a law related to commissions for realtors that they have to have you sign an exclusive buyer agreement now in order for them to start showing you properties. And some realtors practice that already,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's like more formal, like a requirement. And I believe that was in August. And then they also shifted who pays for the buyer's real estate agent, whereas to before it was just normal, the seller automatically paid
Yep.
it. So I do want to make sure I update it and revise it and add those to it. But it's still a great guide. It tells you exactly what to do to prepare. It has a glossary in the back that will teach you a lot of the real estate terms so you can be empowered during your process. And it also talks about moving, all of the expenses in the home buying process, all of the members of your team and what they do, what their purpose is as a part of the process. Same thing. I feel like that's another mistake we make. We go into home ownership, but we don't learn anything about the process. And you
Yeah.
only know what you know. So you only know to ask if you know that it's a part of it. If you don't know that all of these are a part of the home buying process, how do you know to ask?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a good point, especially if you're purchasing a home for the first time. There's so much you just
Exactly.
have no idea about.
It's so many parts. It's so many parts
It's
to
it
it.
really is. I did not get a home inspection when I purchased my home. I purchased it via FHA, and so I thought the FHA was the inspection, and it
Well, they
wasn't.
do an inspection, but that's not your
It's not
inspection.
your inspection, and I didn't know
No.
that when I
And you're
bought
not
my
going to
first
get the
home.
report.
Mm-mm, exactly. I did not know that when I purchased my first home.
See?
Yep, exactly. And my home ended up having foundation repairs. It,
Oh, and that's big.
can you say like $10,000 big?
Oh man.
Yes.
See, and so for me, for my first home, because I think I'm on my third home purchase.
Hmm.
Hopefully a fourth next year. But my first home, I didn't save an emergency fund. I only had the money for my down payment and closing costs. So when I walked away from that closing table, they had all I had.
Hmm. Right.
And I injured myself 6 weeks after, and literally I injured myself 4 days after my first mortgage payment, and ended up having to go on workers' comp. I had a boot and cast for 2 years, intermittently off work, and I lost my house. So within the same year, by my next birthday, my house was already in foreclosure
Wow.
status because I didn't know. I didn't know
Yep.
save money for after.
Exactly, exactly. So we're talking about these money mistakes, and again, you can get it 75% right, and you can still get back on track. You can still build wealth. You can still
Which I did. I'm now a real
Yep,
estate investor. I own
exactly.
a home that I stay in now. So I've
Yep.
purchased properties since then, even though I had to file bankruptcy. I've purchased properties. I built my credit back up. I now invest regularly. Like, just because that happened, it did not change where I am today. You
Exactly.
wouldn't know any of that if I didn't tell you.
Right, exactly, exactly. So such good stuff. Great nuggets here. Okay, so I guess we are going to sign off. It is always a pleasure. You guys feel free to check Nia out, and we will include copies to her book in our description. And again, if you have any questions, just drop them in the description or in the chat, and we will be sure to answer them. All right, guys, take care.
Bye.